So who's excited for Titan's return? Because I know I am. I mean, we're finally getting some headmasters again. We're getting a Galvatron that actually looks like Galvatron. And some of the last vestiges of the well-known G1 cast are finally getting some G1 accurate looking toys with some modern technology. And that includes this guy. Well, it includes the original version of this guy. This is Generations Blurr, the current one that's based on the Drift mold. And now I'm wondering just how much longer it's going to stay in my collection. So let's give it a look and we will be the judge of that. Or I will. You'll just watch and take whatever opinions from this that you want. As you can see, just like Drift, it is this very nice kind of foreign supercar look. He looks quite fast and powerful. Very, very nice car. I'm not sure it's quite Blurr. I would imagine something lower to the ground in the 4GT range, but hey, this is the mold they worked with. At least they took out the Tokyo Drift style fin in the back, so the spoiler is much more normal, we'll say. Much less pronounced, so that's an upside. There's a lot of remolding on the toy, but we're not going to see it in this mode. No, this mode is focused on getting a lot of different shades of blue all the way across it. That kind of light sky blue, that's kind of more robin's egg, I'd say. That's more in the classic Blurr color scheme, and that's what the toy is molded in. All the trim on the bottom, that's all painted, as well as everything across the top. Part of that is trying to recreate his G1 look of that pale blue on the top of the vehicle mode and all this kind of light blue going through the main body. It's not a bad job and definitely does make him look like a very different toy from Drift. You can also see some off-white going all the way through the center up around the top of the car, as well as the Autobot symbol blazoned right there on the top. That's kind of a classic spot for it. So all in all, this is very nice. The molding itself is kept to pretty smooth details. There's some little indications, all the little touches I tend to like, door handles, the gas cap, all that. Got some nice rims going as well. And in the front, some translucent plastic giving the headlights a layered look, like actual headlights, and a little bit of black for the grille in the front. And toward the back, windshield in the back done up in a dark blue, so that's technically like 4 shades of blue going on here. And the tail lights done in red as well. You can see the exhausts that are molded in, which is quite good. So all in all, it is an excellent vehicle mode. It does look really cool. I'm just not sure it best represents Blurr is all. As far as rolling, notice it's kind of dragging a little bit, and that's because of this thing stored on the bottom. Yeah, we can go ahead and remove that, and he rolls quite well. This is the age of pinned wheels and much more solid construction, so it gets away with that. I'm going to leave this in its place because this toy does something rather cool. As far as I know, I don't have to disengage that in order to get this guy into his robot mode. So let's test that out. So this part itself, you can see this is all just tabbed in here, and it's really solid. So I need to kind of work through it. There we go. Wiggle it about. Make sure it all comes undone. So these pieces fold to go over the sides right there. It's going to go ahead and reveal the head too, which is kind of a letdown because epic head reveals are much nicer than just, oh hey, it's there. Which gets kind of weird. Okay, so with that out of the way, go ahead and loosen up just about everything here. I'm just going to crack open all these little pins and tabs so we have a little bit of range to work with. And there we go. Move those down and rotate out of the way. That lets me bring the arms down like so to form the shoulders. And the arms can fold out like so. Very, very nice. Alright, so with that, get the chest piece out of the way. Pegs into the top. Legs. legs are going to rotate all the way down like so, revealing the knee. Come on, you two. Come on, there we go. And with that, we can move the feet into position, which takes a little bit of wiggling, because this is a little bit of a funny double hinge in order to get it into its proper position. We can do the same over here. Come on. There we go. Thought we were going, or not. Hang on. There. Stubborn little punk. Alright, with that, I'm going to fold the windshields up into the doors. Those are going to fit along the sides. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be our Generations Deluxe Blurr in his full robot mode. Can I get him? There we go. Just get that seated in correctly. So as you can see, he's looking very, very IDW. This is where being part of the comics has a bit of an advantage, as they can just kind of change the way he looks in the comic book, come up with some quick excuse for it, and hey, all of a sudden you've got an accurate toy. But that is kind of a backwards way of working it, but it does work. If you are after an IDW Blurr, this is pretty much spot on, because they changed him in the comics to make him spot on. Looking at the head, this is definitely not the G1 style of head for Blurr. You can see it has some of the same angles, and it's got that weird kazoo-looking thing at the top of his head. So he does have a lot of those needed features, bright white eyes, which is nice. But the head is far more swept back, a lot more blades, a lot more layering. I apologize for how shaky this is getting as I try to get the light to actually show the detail here. But yeah, the head sweeps back a lot more. There's a lot more of more bladed and intricate, layered look to it. A lot of pieces going into the head to get that effect right. So, exceptional job there. The form itself, just like Drift, is quite the solid figure. He's very much in the closer to classics feel than a lot of Generations toys were. Parts are nice and solid, the engineering is very well done, and there's nothing about him that really kind of screams like over-engineered or overthought. He really works in his detailing very, very well. We've got a lot more light blue coming into here. This is the proper sky blue now. The legs, completely new. It kind of matches the paint from the vehicle mode, but all of this is completely new parts, so that's very nice. As Drift was Japanese themed, there's a very Gundam vibe to the way the legs look, very super robot kind of styling. So that itself is a little bit Japanese in styling, and I'm not against that. It does look decent here. We do have these big things along the sides. Of course, these acted as scabbards for Drift's little swords, and they've got its purpose here too, so we'll get to that here in a bit. A little bit of gold there in the midsection just to kind of shake it up a little bit as far as color schemes go. You can see in the arms, a little bit more intricate in the detailing here, but nothing extravagant. More multi-shades of blue. The hands now get that darker blue that was originally painted on to these, the rear section of the vehicle, which are now the legs. I do like that, by the way, how it's all painted to the underside too, so the leg itself pops from the leftover vehicle parts. That's nice. And a little bit more blue, just to break up the black here at the shoulder. He's a really intricate toy. Like, for a figure that pretty much relies on just one color, he's got a lot of different shades going on, and he feels like really involved and really detailed without really breaking too much from his scheme, and just feels solid as a result. It's a very, very nicely done job. Now, again, if you're after a G1 Blurr, this is nothing like how G1 Blurr looks, so you are going to miss out on that, obviously. So it's a little bit give and take here. Now, I'm going to go ahead with the articulation because there's a few tricks to show off later. The head itself hinges up and down and rotates, so it's not ball jointed, but it does get some universal range, albeit a little bit restricted as that is a very long chin. We also have ball joints at the shoulders, which can work in and out, as well as a hinge toward the torso, which allows the arms to go outward, but it's not quite as good as just your standard ball joint or universal hinge, and it starts colliding with the head. So restricted shoulders a little bit here. Bicep rotation, double joint at the elbow, ball joint at the wrist, so it bends in as well as rotates. That's good. Do we have a waist? No, we do not. Even if we don't have a waist, these pieces on the side do actually have ball joints and hinges, so they get out of the way of anything and be positioned the way you want. Down to the sides, swept to the back, your call. Ball joints at the thighs, which work very well. I'm always happy to see a good thigh joint. Thicep? I'm making up body parts now. The robots, they can call them whatever they want. Thicep, tricep, quadcep, whatever. Yeah. So yeah, there is a rotation at the thigh. The knee. Knee has a good range of motion to it. That's a 90-degree bend. Thank you. No tilt or rock to the ankle whatsoever because of the way it transforms, and we're pretty much stuck without breaking that transformation because it leaves that big gap between the foot and the leg. So the articulation is not bad on the toy, though it does get some restriction when you deal with the shoulders, which that is a bit unfortunate. So what else can we do with this toy? I mean, well, for starters, we do have this massive sniper rifle that's stuck to the back of him. Black on black, I apologize, but the detail itself is pretty... Well, it's actually not bad. So, yeah, I'm going to try and give you a look here. So, all in all, very interesting weapon for Blurr. Not really striking me as the silent sniper type, is because hey, he's a little bit faster than that, and usually a little bit more loud-mouthed. So that's not quite what I envisioned for Blurr. But hey, it's a different interpretation of Blurr, so who am I to judge? I'm just the critic. I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure, he does have the ability to dual wield with that little handle that folds out to the side, so you can do that. He can go two-handed with a gun, so that's a neat little trick. But there's a better trick. There's a much better trick, because instead of those extra little swords that Drift had, instead we have these, a pair of extra little handguns, and they're the same except for one particular part. What I don't like is they don't quite fit in the hand as well. You have to really jam them in there in order to get them to fit snug. But the pistols themselves, pretty simple in design, nothing really to write home about. Does make some nice extra weapons. I do like that he comes with two. Dual wielding is always a plus when it comes to your action figures and their poses. So he does come with a pretty heavy set of weaponry here. But that's not all. We can also take these little tabs on the sides and connect them to the barrel of the sniper rifle, like so. Boom. And boom. And that gives you something of a sniper mount, which he does kind of have the articulation for if you want to actually position that way. That was one of the neat little tricks to this particular figure. Yeah, I really wish the hinge in his neck worked a little bit better to get him facing a little bit higher up, but we take what we can get. But I do like how these work. Like, the doors were remolded to fit the guns, and of course he doesn't come with Drift's swords, so he's all about the guns here. Interestingly, something else left over from Drift is the fact that the latch on the back that holds on to the sniper rifle still hinges outward, which helped Drift grab onto it or pose with it while it was still attached to his back. And it can still be done here too with the sniper rifle, though he doesn't quite have the dexterity to reach back there and grab the handle. So there is that. It's just a leftover thing if you care to use it. So that, my friends, is Generations Blurr, based on Generations Drift, which kind of feels like the most appropriate character to reuse that mold with, but may not be the best fit for the character. Now that said, that's purely opinion. As an IDW Blurr, he's fantastic, and there's nothing wrong with the toy. Aside from some limitations in articulation, the features are great. I love how many ways you can use the accessories. The transformation is good without being overcomplicated, and all the detailing is great. Paint is good. Feels good. This is like the last really, really solid figure we got. So this is a really, really, really good toy. Me personally, I don't feel like it fits my vision of Blurr, because I grew up with the Speedster, with the voice of the Micro Machines guy, who couldn't shut up and couldn't stop running around. And one thing I know about snipers, they don't really run around much, or lay there and be extremely patient. I don't know Blurr to be very patient. Of course, I'm trying to be patient myself, waiting for the new Blurr to come out, so I guess I'm going to stick with him for a little bit longer, because while he's not my ideal, he's still really, really good.